Well, viruses are simply excretions of a toxic cell. Viruses are pieces of DNA or RNA with a few other proteins. They bud out from the cell. They happen when the cell is poisoned. They are not the cause of anything. And the first way I would encourage you to think about this is if you are a famous dolphin doctor, right? And you have been studying dolphins in the Arctic Circle for hundreds of years, or at least a long time. And the dolphins were fine. And then they call you up, Fred, all the dolphins or a lot of the dolphins are dying in the Arctic Circle. Can you come and investigate? Right? And you have one question to ask. So show of hands, how many of you would say, I want to investigate a dolphin to see the genetic makeup of that dolphin? Nobody, because that's stupid. How many of you would say, I want to see if this dolphin and that dolphin has a virus because it might be contagious and that's why all these dolphins are getting sick? That fellow. How many of you would say, excuse my French here, somebody put some shit in the water here? Like Exxon Valdez? Anybody? Everybody. Because that's what happened. And the cells get poisoned. They try to purify themselves by excreting debris, which we call viruses. If you go to the current theory of viruses called exosomes, and the latest head of the NIH giving a talk on the complexity of viruses, you will see this is perfectly in line with the current thinking on what a virus really is. I had a dramatic example of this when I was growing up. Right outside our house, there was a wetlands, and they're full of frogs, and the frogs kept me up at night, so I taped the windows, and in the spring they made a big racket, and then over time the frogs were all gone. How many thinks the frogs had a genetic disease? How many thinks that frogs had a virus? How many think somebody put DDT into the water? That's what happened. Diseases are poisoning. Why viral? Because the people are poisoned, they excrete toxins, they look like viruses. People think it's a flu epidemic. In the 1918 epidemic, the Boston Health Department decided to investigate the contagiousness of this. So they, believe it or not, took hundreds of people with the flu and they sucked the snot out of their nose and injected it into the healthy people who didn't have the flu, and not one time could they make the next person sick. They did this over and over again, and they were not able to demonstrate contagion. They even did it with horses who apparently got the Spanish flu, and they put bags over their head, and the horses sneezed in the bag, and they put the bag over the next horse, and not one horse got sick. You can read about this in a book called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg, who chronicles all the steps in the electrification of the earth and how within 6 months there was a new flu pandemic all over the world. And when you hear the normal explanations, how did it go from Kansas to South Africa in 2 weeks? So the entire world got the symptoms at the same time, in spite of the fact that the mode of transportation was horseback and boats, and there's no explanation for it. They just say, we don't know how that happened.
Because germ theory has been so widely accepted as a fundamental principle that all of our other scientific knowledge is based upon, there has been no effort or funding or research done to look for an alternative cause.
And why do you think that is?
Well, from the point of view of scientists, since they accept that the virus causes the disease, there would be no point in doing other research to look at other potential causes. I've tried very hard to find additional experiments where they tested this theory about contagion of infectious agents. And I could not find any conclusive studies that proved contagion exists.
Yes, the word doctor, incidentally, does not mean to treat people. It means to teach people. That's what the word doctor means. It comes from the Latin word docere.
Well, that makes you a super doctor then.
All right. Now, contagion exists for thousands of years, the concept of it. And originally it applied to demons. People were possessed of demons, and they had people who drove demons out as a profession. And eventually part became priestcraft, and another part became the medical profession. But demonology was really the science of ancient times, and they believed that diseases were evil spirits and demons that possessed people. But the concept of disease evolved, but the idea that disease passed from person to person as demons or evil spirits or whatever continued to exist. And of course, when the medical system was commercialized, they kept and exploited old concepts. Now, contagion, of course, is a myth. There are many medical concepts that are outright myths that are perpetuated perpetually simply because they yield big profits to the cartel that controls the medical profession. Now, when it comes to contagion itself, if I were to line up 100 people and I gave each one an emetic and all 100 of them vomited, would say, Jesus, this vomiting is a very contagious disease. But the truth is, they've only demonstrated scientifically one thing: similar organisms subjected to similar influences react similarly. And to put it in very blunt terms, similar organisms indulging the same bad habits get the same bad results.
So this is an example of how you could be misled by your observations and assume that it's a contagious process that passes an illness between people, when in actuality it is that they had a common exposure to some kind of toxic insult that caused the problem.
All at the same time in mass?
All diseases are body efforts. They're initiated and conducted by the body to eliminate poisons that have become extraordinary to its ability to eliminate normally through the kidneys, the skin, the bowels, and the lungs. When it comes to poisoning, the first commandment of eating is thou shalt not poison thyself. But unfortunately, when Americans eat, they're eating a plethora of poisons every day. We know every time you smoke a cigarette, you're poisoning yourself. Every time you take a cup of coffee, you know you're poisoning yourself. When you take alcohol, you know you're poisoning yourself. It's a very bad poison. But the truth is that diseases aren't communicated. I repeat, diseases result from deficiencies or from toxic materials. When you have a deficiency, your body becomes poisoned anyway. But when the cells die, and we have maybe 300 to 500 billion cells dying every day and being replaced at the same rate as a rule, the dead cells disintegrate. So what they're calling the genome is that material which floats around that came out of mitochondria, but they're calling them viruses. After all, the system is based on drugs, and it needs scapegoats in order to justify the system. They're sending the drugs in to destroy these so-called things. Never mind that the drugs destroy the human being more than they destroy anything else, and dead material don't have to be destroyed, it's already dead.